Black artists have told the story of the Black experience through music and through arts for decades. They have used their creativity to make an impact through social change. Supporting and amplifying Black voices in the arts is important to continue to tell the narrative of Black communities for generations to come. Tate Baeza, the curator at the African Art High Museum in Atlanta, is joining us now by phone about the importance of showcasing Black art. Lauren, welcome to BNC Live. It's a pleasure to have you. So let's just jump right in. Tell us a little bit about your role and as the curator of African art at the High.
Yeah, sure. My role as a curator, I guess I should start by explaining kind of what my collection is, just so there's clarity there. I basically oversee a collection of material culture and visual art from the continent of Africa. And in this role, I think I could simplify it into three major things. I care for the current holdings in the collection. I make new acquisitions, and I create exhibitions, all that are ideally informed by the current collection that we have, and sort of a general story that we're trying to tell in terms of content area expertise.
Lauren, can you give us a general description of High's African art collection as well?
Sure. Speaking of that expertise, we have a really refined collection that is pretty specific to West and Central Africa, and actually primarily two countries. We have really strong holdings from Nigeria and Congo. And so my plans for it moving forward are to kind of lean into that as opposed to diversify. As you know, the continent is massive. It's 54 countries, thousands of ethnic groups, long history. And so I think the way forward is to lean into our existing areas of expertise and just diversify within there, because we have quite a long way to go before we're telling a more robust and dynamic, fair, and culturally sensitive story about Congo and Nigeria.
Yeah, let's pick up on that. Talk about the strengths and what that collection would look like.
Currently, some of the things that I think we do really well, and I'm really happy to have inherited these aspects of the collection, are we have a really broad and diverse range of ceramics. And that's all different types of ceramics, just clay sculpture, broadly speaking, all the way to, more recent stoneware. So we've got really beautiful works in that regard, and I hope that we can continue to collect along those lines, since we have such a strong head start on being sort of on having that be one of our main signatures of our collection. We also have a number of things that a lot of times people consider historic artifacts, but they're actually, in our collection at least, they're not that old. Most of the wood sculptures that we have, or even functional objects that we have in our collection, that can be said more accurately to be cultural or traditional objects, are from the early to mid 20th century. So they're not, our collection doesn't go back quite that far. We do have just a few things that are very, very old and very priceless and very delicate, and we have to be particular about conserving those and how often those are on display. But the majority of our collection actually isn't that old. It's just very traditional and a lot of, again, material culture. So what I plan to do is to sort of diversify that aspect of our collection by making sure that we're focused on collecting especially modern African art. I think right now, in terms of just national trends, or international trends, I should say, contemporary African art is having a moment. There are numbers that we're seeing contemporary African artists yield at auction that we hadn't seen before. And that's really great and speaks to private collectors' renewed interest or new interest in contemporary African art. Museums are a little bit behind the private collectors in their enthusiasm, but they're following suit and starting to collect contemporary African art. And my response to that has been to sort of have a strong desire for filling in the gaps. That is to say, if we have these traditional and cultural objects, and then we skip to our most contemporary artist of 2021 from the continent, we've missed 100 years of really important, rich African visual history. So my plans moving forward are to sort of fill in that gap along the lines of our areas of expertise, which again are Central and West Africa.
Lauren, we're actually running out of time, and I want to get to the meat of this, which is Black exclusion. I'm looking at these beautiful pieces of art, and yet there are reports that we are underrepresented in the art world. The majority of the artists and the work that we see are by white artists. How do we change that?
Oh, that's a big question.
Got about a minute.
um, how do we change that? I think the way forward, and this is just my personal opinion, is to make sure that we have lots of different types of institutions. I think the power lies in who's making the decisions, what kind of institutions are built. And if you have a disproportionate amount of institutions that are white led or white founded, then it's a bit more difficult to advocate for them to change. I think we need to have a little bit more autonomy in the art world
Absolutely.
in terms of leadership.
Lauren, thank you so much. These pieces are just absolutely breathtaking. I look forward to paying a visit to your
Oh,
gallery.
please come. Thank you so
Absolutely.
much for having me.
You can count me in. Thank you so much.